road, get this recorded. Once again, everybody, my name is Mario Delgadillo. I am one of the leaders here with Viseo, and I am battling allergies really, really bad today. So bear with me if you hear me sniffling and sneezing a couple times. So the show must go on though. However, I've made a commitment to you guys, but I'm just battling today with some sinuses. So that said, as you guys know, I've made a commitment this year to making sure that I dedicate at least 1 hour a day to helping, or excuse me, 1 hour a week to helping develop your skill set, okay? And so with that being said, there are a couple of things that we're gonna cover today. Let me find my marker, hold on here. Thankful that this is a team training, so we can be a little bit more unofficial here. So there's a couple things we're going to do. Today we're going to talk about some things that I've identified and I've seen happening in our business, and I hope that by sharing a couple of principles with you today, I can help you building your business. So that said, one thing that I want to talk to you guys about today is Seasons of MLM. Okay, MLM stands for multi-level marketing, okay, or network marketing. So there's seasons in MLM. We're going to talk about that today. And we're also going to talk about what's called recruiting up, okay? So recruiting up. But before we talk about those two concepts, what I want to do is Zyrtec. Thanks, Joe. What I want to do is just share my story. I know some of you guys are pretty new, and I think that every time I share this story, I feel like I bless people with it because you're all in different places in your journey with network marketing with Viseo, and mine started 10 years ago. I came out of the corporate space. I was a six-figure earner in education. I was always told to get your degree and to go into corporate. That's how you make a life for you and your family, so that's what I did. When I got introduced to network marketing, guys, I was, my headspace was all wrong because the person who brought me into network marketing was my cousin. And he told me that, man, this vehicle of network marketing is amazing. But the guys that are at the top, man, they really don't know what they're doing. So when I showed up into my network marketing vehicle for the very first time, my mindset was all backwards. Okay, I didn't really have the right thought processes, and I was definitely not coachable to the system. For the first probably 6 months or so, I was absolutely miserable. I didn't recruit anybody. I think I had three people on my team. Two of them were my best friends who were going to do anything I did anyways, just because that's our relationship. And the third was my sister. And I don't know if that counts because I paid for half of her to get started, half of her startup package. And so fast forward to the last 10 years, guys, there's some things that I've learned. I've learned that, you know, just like I preach, timing is everything. You've got to have a disruptive product. You've got to have a great system. But at the same time, there are a few skill sets that you guys have got to learn in order to be really successful in network marketing. In just about every other industry or field that you're in, you're only going to have you're going to have a lot of different skills that you've got to learn. The good news with network marketing is there's only about 7 or 8 that you really have to get good at, and you really have to become a master at. The faster you can become a master at these 7 skills, you'll be extremely successful. And so I wanted to take every Wednesday for about an hour, sometimes it's shorter. Today I don't think it'll be very long, to share with you guys those skill sets, to teach you the skill sets necessary to be a professional in the network marketing industry. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to introduce you to something called the law of the lid. So the law of the lid comes from John C. Maxwell. How many of you guys are familiar with John Maxwell? He's one of my favorites out there. About 2017, I was blessed to be able to share a stage with him, which was a huge honor and kind of like a bucket list type of thing for me. But one of his best books is called The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And there's 2 laws that we're going to talk about today. The first one is the law of the lid, okay? So the law of the lid, you know, when we explain what the law of the lid is, we do this because it helps people to understand the value of leadership and personal development, okay? It also gives you, if you can get a good handle on this particular law, okay, you will see an incredible impact of leadership on every aspect of life that you have, because there's leadership principles in every area of your life. Whether it's from a parent's perspective, you have to be a leader there. Whether it's being a spouse, there's an element of leadership there, right? Whether it's being a good friend, right? Do you want to be the leader or do you want to be the follower? A good boss if you still work a job. And so here it is. This is the law of the lid. Leadership ability is the lid that determines a person's level of effectiveness. I'm going to say that again. Leadership ability is the lid, I think of a jar, right? A lid that determines the person's level of effectiveness. Therefore, the lower an individual's ability to lead, the lower the lid on his or her potential. Conversely, the higher that individual's ability to lead, the higher the lid on their potential. So let me give you an example of what this means. So if your leadership rates at an 8, right, an 8 out of 10, then your effectiveness can be no greater than a 7, right? Because it can only come up to right below where you're at. Now, if your leadership rank is at a 4, then your effectiveness will be no higher than a 3. So hence, the idea is your leadership ability, for better or for worse, always determines your effectiveness and the potential impact on your organization. So what did this mean for me when I got into network marketing? Number one, okay, if you're taking notes, and I know some of you guys are driving, so this will be recorded, but if you're not, take notes. Number one, what it meant for me is my level of success, where I was at that particular moment, was directly connected to me. It had nothing to do with anybody else. Because where I was, my lid was just going to take me there. Some people, that's a hard pill to swallow. Now, mind you, I can only diagnose that if I know in my heart of hearts I'm putting forth the effort. There is something going on right now within, I believe, the network marketing community, and I'm seeing it in some pockets within our team, where there just is a lack of effort, right? And you guys can only answer that question for yourself. Am I, or are you putting forth the effort necessary to be successful with your business? So what does that mean? Am I doing the few things that I've got to do every single day, come hell or high water, to do what it takes to be successful? There's only a few things. We call them RGAs, revenue generating activities. Revenue generating activities are when you're sitting at your computer or your phone and you're reaching out to people and asking them, hey, what do you know about CBD, right? When you're prospecting. Prospecting people is a revenue generating activity. Now, believe it or not, attending trainings like this is not a revenue generating activity. You're like, well, okay, well, I'm out of here then. Listen, you do need to go to trainings. You do need to attend webinars. You do need to do all of those type of things to develop yourself. And we're going to connect the dots with that. But there are a certain amount of things that you should be doing every single day from an effort perspective to help you to be successful. That said, if you're sitting here this afternoon and you can say, Mario, I'm looking in the mirror and I can say in my heart of hearts, I'm putting forth the effort, then the next thing that's holding you back is your leadership lid, right? And for me, what I loved about network marketing and what I love about Baseo is I come from a long line of leaders, corporate leaders. And so ever since I was a young kid, I really valued leadership. I really valued the idea that I can become a leader. But it wasn't until I got into the network marketing industry that it really revealed to me where I was on my leadership journey. Is this making sense, guys? If it is, give me a head nod or type it into the chat and let me know that I haven't lost any of you guys yet. Okay, good. So that said now, the essence of the law of the lid is that you need to have the mentality of a leader, in order to achieve true success. How do you get there? By thinking outside of just yourself, right? So you've got to think outside of the confines of where you're at. Step outside of that. try and figure out how can I increase that level, that law of the lid, or how can I increase that lid for me, in my family, in my business. And we're going to talk about a couple of things to do here. So listen, I thought this was cool. 5 things leadership is not, okay? Leadership is not management, right? How many of you guys feel that sometimes you're like, man, I feel like I'm managing all the people on my team, right? Management is all about systems and processes. So when you're checking in with your people to see if they have an understanding on the system, like, hey, after you set your diamond text, where do you go to request coverage, right? How do you request coverage? And all of that is managing the system and the process. That's not leadership, that's management. Now, leadership is not entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurs are great at seeing opportunity. Entrepreneurship is about identifying opportunity, going out there and executing. But leadership does not mean that you're an entrepreneur, because you can be an entrepreneur without being a good leader. Does that make sense? Now, leadership is not knowledge. Knowledge is about knowing what to do. Leadership is about how you do it, how to actually do it. So knowing something, or think about how many people that we know or we talk to that say, oh, I love CBD. I know all about CBD. Knowing about CBD and even knowing about liposomes and not doing anything about it really doesn't mean much, right? It's not applied knowledge. It's just knowledge that's sitting there. Leadership is not pioneering. Pioneers are typically the first to arrive, but they bring a team along with them, okay? Leadership is not a position. A title doesn't make you a leader. How many of you guys have ever worked for someone and they had the title, but you knew they weren't a leader? Right? A lot of us have. How long did you stay there? Usually not very long. How effective were they? Usually not. And when you look at John Maxwell's teachings, he has 5 levels of leadership. Having the title of a leader is the first level of leadership, and it's actually the most ineffective level of leadership. And he says that people will follow you for a short time because they have to, not because they want to. What I learned about the network marketing industry, guys, is if you really consider yourself a leader, join network marketing. Excuse me, because here you lead a voluntary army. When I realized that for the first time, man, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. Boom, right? Because in the corporate space, I was a leader, but to a degree. Now, I don't know how much of a percentage it was, but to a degree, there were people who followed me because they had to if they wanted a paycheck. And they didn't do anything out of line to get fired, and they were just being compliant, right? They were just like good. They weren't doing too much. They weren't doing too bad. They were just right in the middle. And so they were just there. See, but here is what leadership is. Leadership is influence. Leadership is influence. Okay. Now this goes to the second law of leadership that we're going to talk about today. Okay. Hold on. Which is the law of influence. Okay. So let's talk about that. Sorry, guys. So I'm going to jump over here, guys, and I'm going to talk about the law of influence. So when you think about the law of influence, it's pretty cool. The law of influence essentially talks about leadership is influence. Nothing more, nothing less. And so when you think about people that have been in your life that you've followed, or people that have influenced you, they may be coaches, they may be teachers, they may be bosses, they may be uncles, anybody that in your life really helped you and influenced you in a good way. You remember them because of that reason. You remember what they did to make you feel a certain way, and it stirred you to action. That's why I love talking about the law of influence. And that leads me, guys, to our first example that I'm going to take out to the board here, okay? So that said, let's talk about how to recruit up, okay? Now, what does that mean? Now, this is one of those times where I hope that we can have an adult conversation, okay? Because sometimes I think and this is just me being me, I think sometimes in our culture, we have gotten very soft and we've gotten our feelings, we get our feelings hurt really bad. So this afternoon, I just want to share with you what I learned about how to recruit up and why recruiting up is the most important, okay? So talking about the law of the lid and then talking about the law of influence, which is just basically, right, getting somebody to do, right, what you want them to do. That's influence, good or bad. How many of you know that there's been people in your life that have had a bad influence on you, right? And after you were done with them, you're like, man, what the heck was I doing? Like I was doing things that were never me. They were not, that's not who I am. But that person had influence over you, okay? So when people get started in network marketing, hopefully you guys can see that okay. There's 3 types of people that you can reach out to. There are people that you would consider on the same level as you. So what do I mean by the same level? This is where I'm talking about you guys being adults, okay? So what do you mean on the same level as me? Well, maybe they're around the same age. You know, they live kind of in the same area as me geographically. We make the same amount of money for the most part. And I would say they're like on the same level as me, okay? The second type of person that you can recruit is somebody who's above you, okay? So let's say this is the person that you know that the second you think of reaching out to them about Viseo, you get a stomachache. Have any of you guys had those people on your list? Yes. We usually call them the chicken list. Now, these are people that maybe they make more money than you, okay? Maybe they have 2 cars instead of you just have 1. Maybe you've known them your whole life, and just because they've always excelled in school and excelled in sports, whatever it is, you look up to them. So you've got 2 types of people so far. People that are on the same page as you, same level. People you look up to. Now here's the third. People who look up to you. Okay? So you've got, I just got started in my Viseo business. I write my list of 60. Now, who do you think most people start their list with? The level of people who look up to you, the level of the people who are on the same level as you, or the people that you look up to? Who do you think most people start with when they write their list? Right, the people who look up to you, right? Loretta went like that, yes, okay? And why? Because these are the people that maybe they don't make the same amount of money as you do. Maybe they don't own a home. Maybe just throughout their life, you're the person they call when they need advice. You're the person they call when you need to kind of bring it all together. Like, okay, come on over. Let's grab a cigar. Let's grab a cup of coffee. Sit down. Tell me what's wrong. And you pick up the pieces for them. Now, why do we typically start there? Here's why. Because when you're brand new, your knowledge of what we do, whether it's the products or the model, is down. Okay, your knowledge is down. Whether it's product knowledge, business knowledge. Does that make sense? Now, what else? That means your confidence is down. Because if your confidence is down, right, then if you don't know the products inside and out, if you don't understand the business model, or maybe you do understand the business model, it just hasn't kicked in for you yet, then your confidence is down, right? And if your confidence is down, what happens is your belief is down. And when your belief is down, okay, when you're just not believing that you can do this, maybe you conceptually know in your heart of hearts, like, look, I think this works. It just hasn't worked for me yet. And so because of that, your belief is down. And when your belief is down, your action goes down. So if your confidence is low, if your belief is low, if your knowledge is low and your action is low, do you want to call somebody on your chicken list? Probably not. right? So what happens is you call these folks that look up to you. And guess what? Let me hit a timeout here. Let's be adults. When I talk about the people here, maybe there's people there that they've caught some tough breaks, right? Maybe they weren't raised in a great family, and all through life they just made a couple bad decisions, and it put them in a place where maybe they don't have a job, or maybe they're just in a bad place in life. Let's just say that. That said, I am not saying we don't call these people. I am not saying you don't call the people who look up to you, because every single one of us have been in a place in our life where we needed a break. Would you agree? Would you agree that we were just, man, one day we're like, man, I need something to go, right? I just need something. And you will run into people that you would consider someone who looked up to you, and then you call them, and then once they see the Viseo machine, not just our products, not just the business, not just the comp plan, but they see the people, they see the community, they see the vision, they see all that we are going to do and all that we stand for, they just change. Have you guys seen anybody in your business so far that they got started, and because of the whole picture, right? They say the whole enchilada of Viseo, they're a different person. Would you agree? Yes. So that said, I'm not saying don't reach out to these people. What I'm saying is don't spend all of your time there, because everything in network marketing duplicates good and bad. Okay, so when you go back to this model, when you write your list, guys, I want you to write your list from the top down. Okay. Now, does that mean, oh, Mario, are you trying to say some people are better than others? And come on, let's be adult. You know what I'm talking about here, okay? You're talking about people who are on the next level as it pertains to influence. Remember the law of the lid and influence. So people who are up here have a higher level of influence. So what happens when I get started in any network marketing company, I always call the people that I'm scared to call first. The reason I do that is because here's what I know about people like this. And truth be told, 100%, I didn't think like these people before. I was probably this guy in the middle, but there were a lot of people that I looked up to as well, okay? But I could be in a position where I looked up to people, but I'm still right here, right? Because everybody here has their person that they look up to, right? So that these 3 levels start from wherever that person is. But here's what I know about people who are on that next level of influence. Successful people think different. Successful people are open-minded. Successful people understand basic concepts like timing, like positioning. They also understand a specific concept that says it takes money to make money, right? So when I reach out to these people, they are usually way more open than people who are on this bottom level that look up to me. Guys, is this making sense? Is this resonating? Okay, good. Now, that said, when you get started right from the top down, okay? Now, here's what happens. And this is why it's scary if all you do is call the people that were here. So when I first got started, I called 2 of my best friends, which those 2 best friends, as far as like business was concerned, they really did look up to me. So the reason I say that is because I didn't have to really work hard to get them to want to look at the business. All of us have that 1 or 2 people, maybe 3 people that as soon as you call them, you're like, hey, Fern, it's Mario. And because maybe Fern looks up to me, he's like, what's up, man? Hey, dude, listen, I'm starting a new business and I want you to run with me. What's he going to say? Okay, right? Because he looks up to me. That's easy. How many of us know that we as people take the path of least resistance? So everybody who comes into your business, and maybe you've even done this, the first thing you do is you go to the path of least resistance. Let me call all my buddies that I know will listen just because it's me. Okay? My first two people were my best friends, and my third was my little sister. So she definitely looked up to me. That was easy. And what happens though, guys, is now this process starts over again. Now I'm going to just talk about my sister, okay? So let's say I recruit down and I bring in my sister. Now, this is different because people are all fluid, right? We all are in different journeys. My sister was basically a straight A student all through high school. When I brought her onto my very first network marketing team, she was a college student. So would you agree that a college student doesn't necessarily have the same level of influence as somebody who's a corporate executive? Right. So that's why she's here. So now let's start this cycle over. Who is on the same level as my sister? Her friends, right? Other college students. Right? Now, who does she look up to? People like me. Who looks up to her? You get where I'm going with that? And what happens is everything you do is literally duplicating. Everything you do in network marketing, guys, duplicates. And I want you to understand that. It's just like being a parent. How many of you guys have children, and when you matured, you had that moment, and you were just like, holy crap, I'm my mom. Or you're like, wow, I'm my dad. What the heck, right? And sometimes it's not even the good part of your mom or your dad, right? Because we as people, we do what is done to us, not what is said to us. That's why we talk about, just in life in general, about being a person of action. And they say your words and your actions, right? Your lips and your feet have to match up. Because if they don't, nobody listens. Your kids don't listen to your words. They watch your feet. Same thing happens here in your Viseo business. So if I bring in my sister, she's going to organically do the same thing. And then let's start that over again now, okay? Hopefully you can still see. So now who's on the same level as my sister? Okay, this person, this person who's on the same level as them. Right? Now, who looks up to that person? And you see what's happening, guys, is the level of quality, influential people in your business start going down. And when you see the level of influence in your business going down, guess what's about to happen? It's about to die. Have any of you guys had a business in your Viseo business or a time in your business where you're like, boom, man, oh geez, people are starting everywhere, woohoo! And then Monday closes and Tuesday comes and you look at your schedule and your schedule from Tuesday to Monday looks like crickets. Why? Because without knowing, you've allowed the level of influence to fall off. Now, let me tell you a story, though. Why do you still go? You do both. That's what I want you guys to understand. Start at the top and work your way down. Don't start at the top and never call the people at the bottom, because let me give you this example. I think I may have given it before, but I think it's really important that we do it now. So when I got started, one of the gentlemen that I brought in was one of my good friends named John. Now, John is a pastor. One of the most integrous people I've ever met in my life. John is literally one of the best persons I've ever met. I trust this guy with my kids, okay? I was best man at his wedding. But from a business perspective, I had influence over him, and he came with me. Now, John got started, and then he had his same level. Well, what happened is John brought in his brother-in-law. His brother-in-law, his name was Todd, looked up to him, right? Well, remember, Todd now starts his journey over, and it goes like this. Now, just to give you an idea, Todd, so John was a pastor. Todd did security at a bowling alley. I think he did security at a bowling alley, okay? So we're being adults here. We're talking about business, right? Todd is a great guy. I know him till this day. He's still a good buddy of mine. From a business perspective, do you think Todd had a lot of influence over people? Probably not. But what Todd did is he kept that cycle going, and he brought in somebody here. That person couldn't do anything, died out in a week. He kept going there. But here's what happened. Because I'm being the leader that I have to be, I'm staying in the trenches with my people. Todd calls me one day and he says, Mario, listen, I need you to come to my house and do a meeting. Now, leaders on the line, have you ever driven to somebody's house to do a meeting, and in your stomach you're already knowing like this is going to be not good? I drove from my house to Bakersfield before to do a meeting for somebody in their home. If you guys know Southern California, Bakersfield, Fern, what do you say? Bakersfield's about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, somewhere around there. So I drove about 2 hours to go to Bakersfield, set up the whole living room, and just stand there like this. Nobody ever shows up. Has that happened to any of you guys before in this business? Yeah. Well, there's a lot of us that do it right now over the phone. So the equivalent to doing that over the phone is that nobody ever picks up the connect calls, right? You're just waiting. They're like, all right, Mario, going to call you in 5 minutes. Okay, cool, I'm ready. And nobody ever calls because the guy never answers. So Todd asks me to go to his dad's house and do a meeting. I'm like, okay. In my mind, I'm like, oh man, I don't want to go to somebody else's house. Usually that doesn't work. When you host a meeting at somebody else's house, you're just adding an extra level of deterrent away from somebody to come. Because most people won't go to somebody else's house. They'd rather say, Fern, let me know when it's at your house, man. I'll come by when you host it at your house. I don't know about going to somebody else's house, man, right? So I go there. Nobody shows up except Todd's dad, who it's his house. Todd's dad walks in, and he literally does one of these numbers. He looks at me, and he's like, hey, how's it going, man? I go, good, how are you, sir? I'm good. I'm good. So what do you got a presentation or something you're going to do? And I said, yes, yeah, we got a presentation for our company. He says, all right, well, I told Todd I'd support him, so I'll sit in. I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm sitting there just like, oh, great. Here we go. So I got Todd's dad sitting there. So I go through the information, and lo and behold, here's Todd. His dad decides to get started. But here's what I didn't know. Todd's dad was like up here. Todd's dad actually was given the keys to the city where they lived. Okay. He had run and owned and operated I think 3 or 4 jewelry stores over the last 30 years in their community. Todd's dad got started and just blew it out of the water. So this is why I said, do not talk to the people who look up to you, right? You still reach out to those people, because if you're taking notes, here's something that you know holds true in network marketing forever. Ready? Every dud knows a stud. Okay? It just happens that way. Every dud knows a stud. But what happens when you go up? That's where the beauty happens, guys. That's where we see mass duplication happen. And I'll tell you, and I struggle with this too, guys. Don't think that, once you get to a certain place, all of a sudden recruiting is easy. It's not. All of a sudden, once you make 400,000 in a year, it's going to be easy to recruit everybody. I'm going to be totally honest with you guys, okay? I grew up Mexican American in a very middle class, maybe lower to middle class neighborhood, okay? As most of you know, I have tattoos, okay? I have at times, places in my life where I feel like I'm still not good enough, right? And so when I reach out, I barely graduated college. Some of you already know that because you watch my spelling on here on week to week. Barely graduated college. And sometimes when you guys put me on a phone with a doctor, they're like, Mario, are you available at 12 o'clock tomorrow? Yeah, let's do it. And like, okay, this guy's a doctor. He owns 4 practices and he graduated from whatever. I'm like, okay, cool. And then here in the house, I have to gut check. Because here in the house by myself, I'm like, like one of those like Rocky moments. Like, all right, here we go. Like I'll get a text and they're like, okay, Mario, they're watching the video. And I'm like, all right, let's go, right? Because I feel the same way sometimes. This is just being transparent. Is that okay, guys? Is that okay that we can all be transparent? Okay, so if you feel trouble, okay, or if you find it difficult to recruit up, know that we all have that. We all struggle with that. But I'm going to give you guys an aha moment that one of my very first mentors in network marketing shared with me that helped me to break through this, okay? He was a gentleman that lives here in South Orange County and very wealthy. He was a millionaire. Prior to getting into network marketing, he made tons of money in finance. He would buy and sell businesses. He was my upline. And one time he told me, Mario, why do you have difficulty reaching out to these people that you foresee as above you? Because he said, what you don't know is they all love you. I could see it. They all think very highly of you. You just don't see it. And I was like, well, he goes, let me tell you something about people that are on that next level. Number one, we are used to getting pitched. I was like, wow. Nobody got pitched in my neighborhood, right? Where I grew up, people weren't calling me and saying, hey, Mario, listen, I found a business opportunity. And if they did, it wasn't a legal one. Okay. If they did pitch me on an opportunity, it was like, hey, come over to my house when it's late and it's dark and wear a hood, right? And so what happened, though, was I realized that, man, he's like, it is not uncommon for me to get a call. And this is as simple as it is. His name was Jason. Somebody calls him and he goes, hey, what's up, Brian? Jason, how are you, man? I'm good, brother. What are you doing? Hey, listen, I only got a few minutes, but hey, you want to grab a coffee tomorrow? I think I found a way we can make some serious cash. CBD space. Yeah. What time? How about 1? Okay, I'll be there. Boom. He said, those conversations are normal for people right here. He said, because people who have money, right, know that it takes money to make money. They also are okay taking that money and using it to make money. See, because people in this place, they don't have the scarcity mindset. What is the scarcity mindset? Can we be honest with each other, guys? Can we have a heart-to-heart? This is why I say this is not a meeting for guests. This is halftime at the Super Bowl, right? Where the coaches got to come in sometimes and kick some butts, right? Right? So we're going to talk. Listen, people who are on this lower tier sometimes, they have a scarcity mindset. Oh, what does that mean? I'll give you a real-life example of my family. My grandparents. Both were first-generation Mexican-American. Both lived through the Great Depression. My grandmother used to save everything. Everything. Like I'd go, and I remember, and I'd mess with her because I was her favorite, of course. I'd go to her house, and I called her Nana. I'd open the door in the refrigerator, and there was always food that was wrapped up in like a paper towel, and it was put in there. And I'd be like, I'd pull it out, and I open it up, and it's like a half-eaten sandwich. And I'd be like, Nana, what is this? Oh, I'm going to finish it later. Put it back. She didn't want to get rid of anything because they had a scarcity mindset, right? They were always like this because they were so afraid of losing things. I'm just being honest and being open because there's been a time in my life when my wife and I got married, we made $29,000 between the two of us a year. My first living room set was given to us, and it was black leather. My wife, next time you see her teaser, my wife would not sit on that couch without a blanket because she said, it's gross. I'd be like, why is it gross? Because it's leather. You don't know if somebody was sitting on there with like naked or something. And I'd be like, oh my gosh. So Steph would only sit on the couch with a blanket. And I remember in that time as a married young man, Steph would say, what are we making for dinner? And I'd say spaghetti. Why? Because I could take spaghetti to lunch over and over again. Leftovers, put it in the little Tupperware, take it over and over again. See, so I understand the scarcity mindset, but people that are up here don't have that mindset. I don't have that mindset anymore. I understand that sometimes I might have to get into a business deal and it could cost me $20,000. But it takes money to make money, and I also understand now that there's always a certain risk allotted to that. So these people, if I say to them, hey, this is what it is and blah, 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 it's a foundation pack, $1,500, they're like, wow, that's pretty good. Because what they're reflecting on is the last business somebody pitched them on cost $300,000. See, so when you get here, it's okay to go there because it's normal. Does that make sense, guys? Now tell me, I see a lot of people on and I've seen a lot of comments, but okay, good. So this is making sense. This is resonating. Okay, good. Because I think that's what a lot of people are doing right now. We're allowing our business to go downward instead of going upward. And I'll tell you what I've watched. How many of you guys know, or has anybody ever considered or asked why Ricky is such an amazing recruiter? Has anybody asked that? In 2.5 years he's been with the company, he's over 200 something personal recruits. Every single time we have a recruiting competition, Ricky's number one, right? And I've watched him. The people he brings in are high-level business owners. But why? Because Ricky figured out a way to go from here to here in his own life, right? Blood, sweat, and tears, he became a $1 million business owner in construction. Now, but because of that, his level is a lot higher than most people. So he's also, though, not afraid to go after the people that are above him. And the reason he does that now is because he makes $25,000 a week. He makes more than some doctors. So the reason why Ricky can always start momentum is because he's always recruiting up. And then they recruit and it just takes off. Does this make sense, guys? Are we good here? Okay. Is anybody willing to share if they allowed their business to go into the Peace Corps? Has anybody allowed their business to go into the Peace Corps? I've had it happen before. Yeah? Okay. Yes. Sadly, yes. Okay. Now, as we close up for the last 14 minutes, I'm glad that I just really felt that some people needed to hear this today. I really felt that some people needed to hear this today. Okay. So now as we close up, let's talk about the seasons of MLM. This is important. Okay. How many of you guys have friends that are in network marketing companies and every morning, I bet you wonder why there's a reason I have this, okay? It's not to wipe my nose, even though I'm doing it with that. I promise I'll wash it after, okay? How many of you guys have friends and every morning on Instagram you see this? Hold on one sec. Every morning on Instagram, you see this. Hey guys. Every single morning. And you guys see those people? Okay, yeah. You know why they do that? Because they are in a season in their network. By the way, you see this afro? Crazy, right? Oh my gosh. Put this back. They are in a season in their network marketing business, okay, where they are in the customer season. So let me help you guys to understand that. I see Xavier there. Xavier, let's say Dallin Larson called you 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago. And he said, Xavier, I'm going to give you the #1 spot in all of Viseo. Okay? There's nobody in this business. And it is let's say it's January 1st, 3 years ago. And we're going to launch this on May, whatever. Remember, we launched May something 2017. So he said, listen, Alex, I'm going to give you that top spot, Xavier. And for the next 5 months, you get to go and build as many people as possible. But I'm not going to allow anybody else to recruit for this company before it opens. They can recruit, however, if they come through you. So let's say I invite Joe. Joe now can recruit. So Joe does this, and then you bring in Sally, and Sally does this, right? So if they're through your line, they can recruit. But outside of you, I'm giving you a 5-month head start to go and recruit as many people as possible, because on May 1st, when we launch this thing, you want to have as many distribution partners as possible, because all of their orders are going to go in on day 1. Would you be fired up? Right. Would you be going online doing this? No. You'd be saying, guys, holy crap. Have you ever thought about being at the very top of the next Amway? Have you ever thought about being at the very beginning of the next Herbalife? That's all you would be saying. Guys, this product is changing lives. But guess what? You can be at the top of the next company that's going to go to $20 billion. Get as much room as possible before this thing launches. Does that make sense? Guys, this is called first movers advantage. And that's where we are right now. Because what's going to happen is, let's say we're entering year 3, okay? And let's say in year 3, where you are right now, you get started in the company, and in your first year, okay, all the way to year 4, okay, you recruit 1,000 people through your team, okay, in 1 year. With what is called duplication, right? This is the rule of large numbers. They always work in your favor. With duplication and with multiplication, in your first year it went to this, but in your second year it'll probably go to this, 3,000, okay? In your third year, it'll go to 9,000. In your fourth year, it'll be at 15,000. Okay. Guess what though? This is where the companies are that your friends are in. The gals that are always doing this. They're brushing their hair every day, right? That's where they are. This is where you are. This is why people in these companies, when you have 15,000 people under you, Xavier, in 4 years, are you going to be excited when one of your brand new people who's way down here named Loretta comes to you and goes, Xavier, I sold some lotion today. You're going to be like, all right, good job, girl. Because if you have 15,000 people selling 1 bottle of oil, you're rich. You guys get it? So that's why when you bring people in right now, you don't do this. You don't do the makeup thing with them. You help them to understand, guys, we're in a different position than the company you came from. Because I know that there's people who come in here and they're just like, oh, but I love the product. And that's awesome. That's the reason why this will turn to this. The reason why this will turn to this is because the products are so ridiculous. They're so darn good. That's why it will get there. And that's even more so the reason why you shouldn't be doing this business. You should be building a massive distribution team because, guys, my first year, we did about 4,000 people in our group. Now, 4 turns to, let's say, 8, turns to 20, turns to 40. Guess what? In 4 years, when my whole team is doing facials with Beleza on social media, I'm going to be like, you do you guys, double tap. Because 40,000 people who sell one product a month is insane. See, because there's seasons in network marketing. We're not in that season, thank God. We're in the season where we build a massive army. And then we let it duplicate. And then down the road, which is where, you know, the Amways are, the Herbalifes are, the Arbonnes are, the companies that have been around forever, their whole community is really revolved around giving samples, around sharing products, around doing the social media stuff. And we'll get there. We're just not there yet. And you shouldn't want to be there yet. You should, I would be like, man, if I were you in that same example, Xavier, here's what I would do. I'd say, hey, Dallin, I only got to 1,000 in that 5 months. Would you mind pushing it out to July? This marker sucks. Would you mind pushing it out to July? Because I want more time to build an army before the products drop. Because once the products drop, then you, boom, you explode. So the season we're in, yes, we're in the season of building. And if you put your head down for 2-3 years, you'll have so many people on your team, and then we can sit back and cheer when they sell one jar of cream. They're like, yay, because you guys know you have friends in network marketing. And I'm like, because I talk to them every day on Connect calls. How's your business going? Oh, I love it. It's going great. Really? Yeah. How many people do you have going in your business? Well, I've got 6 right now. I'm like, okay. And every week, every month, I'm like probably selling 3 or 4 jars of cream. It's amazing. And in my mind, I'm like, what? 3 jars of cream? And you're like celebrating because that's the place that their company's in, because there's the top is full, right? They've built out the top and it's just fat. So we feed that top, that upper echelon with all those products as they roll up. Does that make sense, guys? So right now we build. Right now we call Rita. What is Rita? Recruiting is the answer, okay? Yeah, 1 week and 1 year in, and I've never missed a weekly paycheck. See, that's from Kathy. So I hope this was good, guys. I will convert it, put it back up on the YouTube channel, and love you guys. Tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Pacific, we've got a Zoom overview. I'm going to be sending out a new link. We're going to be doing webinar style